Hi, everyone. Great to see you again. So this is Terence Wong again. I hope you all enjoyed the last 2 hour content brought from our APAC 5G industry community. So this is part two, which is about healthcare. This industry is really heavily impacted from the COVID-19 pandemic to the existing healthcare system and also the challenge from the burden of the care for aging population. So we believe 5G, IoT, AI technology has the ability to address the challenge. And also whether it is to be in the hospital or out in the community, connected healthcare should be the solution, create better outcome for patients in different scenarios. So today we are honored to invite Michael Fong to share about how CU Hong Kong CUHK Medical Center they deployed the first 5G hospital in Hong Kong. He have a real life experience to share you some of the journey that he gone through. And then afterward, we have a healthcare panel moderated by Irene Chu, the head of the New Economy Life Science from KPMG. And then finally, we have Martin Cleaner, the former president of TM Forum. He will share you about how digital transformation benefit for industry and how 5G to be business, giving new opportunity. So please enjoy the content. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Michael Fong from the CUHK Medical Center from Hong Kong. Thanks for GSMA to invite me to speak at the APAC 5G Industry Community Summit. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you some of the work that we've done over 5G and also AI in our hospital. A bit of background about CUHK Medical Center. We are a non-profit private teaching hospital wholly owned by the Chinese University of Hong Kong. We serve a social mission to bridge the gaps between public and private healthcare services in Hong Kong by offering quality healthcare at affordable, transparent package prices. We commenced operation in January this year in phases. So we are pretty new hospital in Hong Kong. We have got about 500 inpatient beds and 28 operation rooms. So this is about a medium-sized hospital by Hong Kong standard. We also offer a very comprehensive different specialties medical centers. For example, labor and delivery, oncology, radiotherapy. We position ourselves to be a smart hospital. We try to make use of technology and integrate that into the treatment process to improve patients' experience, treatment outcome, improve the communication and the efficiency, and last but not least, to improve patient safety. There are a large number of different projects, IT projects, and also initiatives that we've explored and developed. We can broadly classify them into 3 different areas. The first area is the Integrated Hospital Information System, which is a core system that helps to run the clinical operation for all the different departments. From the patient who makes an appointment to our hospital, the time that when the patient arrives at our hospital to do registration, triage, consultation notes, operation procedures, medication, until the patient is discharged from our hospital. It's all done through this HIS system. So this system has got very comprehensive functionalities supporting different healthcare providers and healthcare workers. The second stream of work is on mobile. We have developed different mobile apps for our staff to support their daily operation. For example, there's a nurse app that provides functionalities to support their daily work, including medication administration. A doctor mobile app for the doctors to look at their own patients' details, including their medication, laboratory results, and also examination results. A pharmacy mobile app for the pharmacy staff to do drug picking and dispensing, and also manage the drug inventory. There is also a patient mobile app for the patient to book appointment to our hospital. Through the app, they can also look at the other appointment details and other clinical records, including medication, laboratory results, and also payment. The third stream of work is on IoT. We've developed quite a number of different IoT initiatives to support our daily operations in different areas. Like other industries, the application of IoT in healthcare can help to lower expenses, provide better treatment results, better disease control, and improve on the mistakes. Some examples. This one is a pick-to-light system to help for the pharmacy staff on the drug dispensing area. This one is for patients. They can use their mobile phone to do some indoor navigation and patient tracking. This one is for specimen tracking, to keep track of each of this specimen that's collected from the wards, also from the operating theater, until they are delivered to the laboratory. Going back to the theme of this summit, we see 5G, although it's a pretty new technology, but with the benefits on the latency, bandwidth, capacity over the 4G network, there's a very strong potential to support different initiatives for IoT and other applications. So there's a very strong potential for that to be used to improve the end user and patient experience. There is a study that I found from the internet on some potential use cases for 5G in a hospital setting. Okay. Our hospital has got pretty strong network infrastructure. The whole hospital is fully covered by 5G network, Wi-Fi network, Bluetooth, and also the ultra wideband, which can be used to do real-time location tracking. I'm going to share with you two use cases for 5G. The first one is a televisit via the infotainment system. Each of the inpatient beds is equipped with an infotainment system through which patients can watch televisions, they can order meal, they can also look at their patient records. We've provided a televisit function in this infotainment system. Through these televisit functions, patients can talk to their families and also friends through this televisit application. So the UI of this is very much like a Zoom meeting, whereby the family members can just dial in and the patient can accept that incoming request and they can start the televisit. So that's a very useful function, especially under the COVID pandemic situation, in which most hospitals have got very stringent isolation measures. Same application can also be used for patients' family members to directly talk to the doctor, and they don't need to come on site, and that will be particularly useful in the work round. They're also enhancing the system for that to be used for teleconsultation in future. And then through this teleconsultation platform in future, the doctors can provide consultation to patients for patients to use their mobile app. And further down the road, we are expecting we can use the same platform for patients to do some remote monitoring to connect different vital sign devices. And then through the same platform, we can connect to other healthcare professionals and also healthcare providers and insurers. The second use case on the 5G is for our operating theater to do some live streaming of high quality video images. We expect that images, when they are streamed over the 5G network, that can be passed to the auditorium for the training for our medical students. And the same set of images can be viewed and accessed anywhere when the 5G is covered with some tablets. And there is another potential use for that is when we're doing the surgery in the OT theater, in the OT, then other consultants can be engaged through some remote connection, and they can look at the images through their iPad and provide their expert opinion to the surgeons in the operating theater. So there's a video we can show you the concept of how that can be used. 3 weeks ago, there was a live surgery done in the operation room, and then we used this solution to broadcast all these video images to our auditorium for some press. Under the operation room, there are different video sources from the exoscope and also a fixed 4K camera and also a smart glass, which is worn by the surgeon, providing the first-person view from the surgeon's perspective. And this shows the media was doing a live interview with the surgeon in the operation room. And this slide shows the two different image source. The one on the left shows the image coming from the smart glass, which is worn by the surgeon. And the other one is a fixed camera showing the site under operation.
醫生，我想問下咧，呢度啲脂肪其實大概你抽咗幾多啊？同埋有幾多會真係用落病人度？
抽咗好少嘅啫，我哋抽咗，我諗夾埋晒可能有10 ml 到啦，10個 cc 度啦。
咁陣間係會放喺點樣放喺個耳仔啊，同埋放喺邊個位？
So you can see that the quality of all these images are quite good because of we're using high quality cameras and 5G network. So those are the 5G use cases. So I'm going to share about some of this work that we've done over the AI. The AI development started back in 1950s. Okay, but only until the last 10 years, there have been very rapid development on the AI technology. For AI to be used in healthcare, there are quite a number of benefits, including the more accurate diagnosis, reducing human errors, reducing cost, virtual presence. In our hospital, we have also been actively looking for some collaboration with AI vendors and also some startups. And we've incorporated some of their products into our clinical services. I'm going to share with you some of these solutions that we've already adopted. The first one is called the health cap, which is capturing the patient's blood pressure figures and information. And through the AI, that helps to do some analysis, providing the trends and also providing alerts to patients. If their if their blood pressure fluctuates in a different, a strange way. This one is the Berlin range, which captures patients' sleep data when they overnight, and then use the data and send that to the internet, and they can provide some analysis on the sleep data, which is a very good screening tool for some sleep health programs, say for example apnea, and we've incorporated this solution in our sleep health program, making offers to the patients in general. The third one is on detecting glaucoma. So we use OCT images that we captured and send that over to the AI solutions in the cloud, and then the cloud solutions will provide some figures and analysis, and that will help to detect glaucoma. This solution was developed by the Chinese universities, a department of ophthalmology and also visual science. So this solution is now implemented in our hospital. This one is on automated retinal image analysis, which captures some images from the eye, and then with the AI solution that helps to detect the risk, stroke, also dementia. And this solution is now incorporated in our wellness center for some health check programs. This one, Echo Brain, which is used to help for doctors to capture the MRI images for the patient's brain, and also the AI solutions would help to detect some and differential diagnosis of neurodegenerative diseases. So you can see that there are a number of different initiatives that we are using, and then we'll keep exploring and working with other AI vendors and to see how their solutions can be incorporated into our services. This is the last slide for my presentation, which I borrowed from GSMA. At the moment, we have got different initiatives and projects working under the area of 5G, AI, and also IoT. But with the work and help from the industry. So we are hoping all these different initiatives can in future be connected intelligently for everyone and everything to a better future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael, for the presentation. Very interesting sharing about CUHK's new medical center that's completely connected with all the smart technologies. So in the next 30 minutes, I'll be joined by also Michael, but also 3 other speakers, and for a panel discussion on how 5G is adding value to healthcare. So let me introduce them one by one. So in addition to Michael, we have Dr. Henry Wong from, he is the head of wireless strategic development at Hong Kong T. And then we also have David Mahoney from Huawei. He's the leader of Huawei's Business Research and Innovation Lab, joining us from Ireland. Thank you, David. And the third is, last but not least, is Sam Majid. He is the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer of the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission from the government sector. So welcome to the panel, and very exciting. I mean, many of you have been attending the conference for the past couple of days, and must be hearing a lot of exciting developments in 5G. As Terry mentioned earlier, healthcare sector is definitely one of the sectors that have so much attention. The fact that because we're still in that middle of the pandemic, and I think that it also at the same time create a lot of opportunities. So since we just heard from Michael about CUHK Medical Center, I thought it'd be good to just ask Michael and also Henry, because both Hong Kong T and CUHK work together, also together with many other partners, to bring this hospital to life. And would like to just ask you to share about the specific collaboration that you two have brought together, because it sounds like there's so many solutions and there are different vendors, and how do you actually bring it all together and realize this hospital? Because I think many of the countries in Asia are moving into this direction, looking to build a smart hospital. So over to Michael and Henry.
Okay, thank you, Irene. I mentioned in the presentation that our hospital is a new one. So probably around 2 years ago, when we were still building our hospital, and at the time, the planned mobile network was 4G covered. But around that similar time, when the government started to drive the 5G in Hong Kong, so we worked together with Hong Kong T to upgrade our infrastructure to 5G. And then after that, then we started to look for different solutions and use case that can be used in our hospitals. And we talked to different vendors, and Hong Kong T was one of them. So probably I'll pass to Henry to introduce that solution that is coming from Hong Kong T.
Hello, thank you, Michael. Yes, Hong Kong T, maybe I give you a couple of words about the Hong Kong T. Hong Kong T is actually a 5G operator and also a fixed line operator in Hong Kong. So we have launched the 5G since April 2020, and we have a very good working relationship and partner with Michael, the CUHK Medical Center. Primarily, our thinking is very aligned, because Michael has started the hospital from a smart hospital initiative. And smart hospital, it has a lot of initiative. You need to have the digital infrastructure to support it. 5G is one of the key technology and enabling it. And now even though you enable the whole hospital with 5G, what are the application, what are the use case, which is the most important? And as far as the HKD is concerned, we are not only providing the infrastructure connectivity, we intend to provide a solution. When we look for the solution, how can we connect better between doctor to doctor? How can we connect between doctor to student? Since CUHK-MC is also a teaching hospital, a medical teaching hospital. How can we? Because the student cannot go to the hospital for studying due to the pandemic. How do we connect the doctor with the patient or patient and their family? So with all these as an initiative, how can we do better? The example that Michael has just shown in the presentation, which is a doctor to doctor or doctor to the outsider, which is the outside the operating theater, which is one of the example. Now imagine that if you just use a 5G connect the camera together, which may not be meeting the requirement for the telemedicine. The key, over 70 to 80% of the operation are through endoscope. So basically, we need to connect all this imaging from X-ray, endoscope, exoscope, all this, and then with a doctor views or the theater view, so that we work very closely with Michael to learn about the behavior and the requirement. And through this interaction with the hospital, and then we come up with this use case, and is happy to do the telemedicine, which is one of the example I want to illustrate. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michael and Henry. Yeah, it does sound like even the technology have been there, for example, but when you actually put in the real scenario situation in the hospital, you still need to make sure that it works for the users, right? Whether it's doctor, patients, and the staff, and the family members. So it's really excited to see this coming to life, as I mentioned. The question then I have is, I touch upon the fact that overall in Asia, many countries are also looking to invest in healthcare and making it more connected and also accessible. So one of these countries is definitely Malaysia, and we got Sam joining us today. And recently, Malaysian government also have committed to make a big investment in driving 5G and also digital technology. And I read that a report that was issued back in 2020 last year that talked about how 5G implementation could actually benefit different sectors, including digital healthcare. So, and how many jobs it could actually create also. So Sam, maybe could you share some of the latest development in Malaysia, especially when it comes to applying some of the newest technology, whether it's 5G, AI, in healthcare?
Thank you, Irene, and thank you to GSMA for having me today. Yes, you are right in terms of Malaysia has a focus on 5G, and from a consumer EMBB perspective, we are expecting that KLCC and Putrajaya and Cyberjaya to be able to use 5G end of this year. Leading towards it started back in October 2019, where MCMC, as the regulator for telecommunication, broadcasting, and postal courier, we conducted a series of demonstration projects so that we can create awareness with the industry, ministries, partners, awareness on 5G healthcare use cases. And this basically became a Digital Healthcare Cluster Day on the 14th of October 2019. And here we saw the use of 5G from a use case perspective, where one of them was in a hospital in Langkawi Island. This is where we saw that 5G is able to help ECG readings to be disseminated to doctors as they are on the move, requiring not requiring the doctors to return back to the hospital and therefore allowing time savings. And the other aspect is also the use of 5G for transmission of real-time patient videos, voice, and clinical data that basically helps in the understanding of use cases for surgeons trying to serve remote hospitals and without impacting on patient that needs to be transferred from one hospital to another. And another use case that we saw in 2019 that will be part of our bigger use case of 5G is also the use of mobile diagnosis pods. It's like a booth where it's called Doctor on Call, where patients can basically be consulted with doctors via mobile app. And these are some of the examples that we saw industry and government and ministries responding to the advantages that 5G will deliver, especially after 2021, where we are expecting that 5G will cover use cases of ultra reliable, low latency, and also massive machine type communications, allowing those use cases to be a reality in 5G covered areas.
Right, Sam. If I could ask a follow-up question, because with all the sort of upgrading and transformation that needs to happen in order for you to provide this kind of services to the general public, the kind of investment needed, will that be all coming from the government, or will you be also working with the private sector to deliver that?
This is obviously a partnership model. It can be of multiple angles, privately funded, and also perhaps even government funded in the future. I mean, we are keeping the business models fairly open because we know 5G benefit to economy is huge, and the most important aspect here is the understanding by the ecosystem that it represents digital transformation as well, which requires not just competent technology, but also the mindset and the process re-engineering that is needed to make sure that those 5G healthcare use cases can be realized.
Right. Yeah. No, this is very true. I think Henry also alluded to that earlier about not only the technology, but also, yeah, how could that actually help the users, and do they actually trust, right, with all the digital technology getting data? So as we are on this topic about some of these use cases, and also now we have an actual hospital in Hong Kong using 5G. Also want to move on to David to ask you, since you are overseeing the innovation lab for Huawei, and what are some of the latest development or innovation around smart healthcare? And any interesting case that you can also share with us, and especially in Asia, because many of the news suggest that Asia is quite ahead when it comes to moving towards smart healthcare.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Irene, and thanks for having me today. So I think Michael talked quite extensively about the smart health applications within the hospital setting, and I think it's fantastic what the guys in CUHK with HKT have done. I guess to broaden out the conversation, so within the hospital setting, we believe there's significant value for health innovation, 5G and edge and AI combination, but quite equally outside the hospital setting. So globally, there's a shift, we know, to bring healthcare out to the masses, out into the community. And for this, we think that there's a great opportunity for, the telecom sector to help become an enabling fabric for these types of applications. So everything, obviously, we talked quite a bit about with the hospital setting, which is fantastic and very important. But also when we move out into community care settings, even out into people's homes, So I think right now there's a perfect combination of kind of 5G innovation and investment happening across Asia, okay, and will be over the next couple of years. Also in combination with a lot of kind of digital innovation products in healthcare. So for example, things like portable x-rays, handheld ultrasound devices, okay. So the actual cost of these types of units are becoming, you know, at that very, I say, affordable stage for it to be brought out into the community setting, you know. And this, we believe, you know, with the appetite for consumers to be more engaged in their health and wellness, is a very positive thing when you look within Asia, for sure, because Asia is very, I think, aggressive and open and positive to this. You know, if you look at a recent McKinsey report for Asia, they're looking at, you know, I guess, consumer-centric ecosystems really accelerating in Asia. You know, as we all know, Ali Health in China, Halodoc in Indonesia. So there's lots of examples of these platforms that are accelerating quite significantly. Started out in kind of telehealth and, you know, a lot of the use cases you see globally. But as you've seen in other application areas in Asia, they're extending their reach out into kind of e-commerce, you know, medical delivery. So I think in Asia, it's the appetite among consumers is there. And I think for the telco industry to help enable these applications and use the kind of the benefits that you can get from the flexibility of 5G and Edge to enable the applications in the different settings is quite important. I mean, one use case that we've seen, and we believe you'll see a lot more of it, is something, for example, like hospital at home, where instead of, you know, keeping people within the hospital setting, you can give them the same level of acute care in their home setting. The cost benefits are significant, for sure. There's been many studies globally in Asia, as well as in the US and in Europe. Patient outcomes are more positive. So I think that's one example. Another example, which is not so 5G, but we believe still very disruptive as a part of a blended play, although it's early days, is the whole area of kind of asthma-related solutions. So, for example, smart inhalers, you know, could have quite a significant benefit from an application perspective. And there's, again, quite nascent at this stage, but we believe quite of a, you know, a positive area of investment, and could be a nice IoT complementary application as a part of a healthcare play.
Great, David. Yeah, you mentioned a number of interesting developments, especially when you talked about outside of a hospital, and also more moving towards letting the individual having more control of their own health as well, right? So and then while still getting the care they need when it's needed, and so more personalized services. And you touch on this, some of these new areas, very nascent, and Sam talked about building use cases, right, to prove that this is really going to be bringing value. So my next question then is, how can we scale, right? How can we scale smart healthcare? And what are some of the current challenges that, or expected challenges that we need to overcome before it becomes mainstream? Because I mean, it's great to see CUHK Medical Center because it's a brand new hospital. It's also a private hospital, right? So how can we bring that into the public hospital system, for example? And that's just Hong Kong. And the rest of Asia also have its own sort of legacy that they need to work through. So I don't know whether Michael or Henry or Sam, would you like to jump in and share your thoughts?
Well, I think since the opening of our hospital, we have got host a large number of visits from different hospitals in Hong Kong. Most of them are either public hospital or private hospitals, because they are undergoing or planning for some revamp of their hospital. So I mean, we share our experience on what we are doing, and then for their reference. So but as I can see that there is a lot of interest from all these visitors, and they now they have actually seen some live cases, so that will probably help to them to go back and plan for the new hospital building infrastructure, and help to justify the investment in these areas. So I'm happy to see that there are some very exciting feedback from these visitors.
Yeah, maybe I can add some value to it. If you look at the Hong Kong healthcare policy, 5 years ago, 2016, government put up 200 billion to a 10 years hospital development plan. It intend to redevelop the hospital or build new hospital with the objective to increase 5,000 beds, right? And 90 more operating theater. Now, 5 years later, this year, government prepare to invest 500 billion for the second 10 years hospital development plan, which is from 2036 to 2036. Now, if you can imagine, government is investing and continue to invest in the hospital, but at the same time, they also invest into the community healthcare. They invest 600 million to build 11 district healthcare center, right? So they try to build it. So that's why, to reiterate what David said, we build a smart hospital, right? Technology in the smart hospital, but at the same time, government invests into the community, in moving the point of care from the hospital into the community, into the elderly home, and personalized as well. Now, that really have the opportunity to us as an operator, because it then have the telemedicine play in it, right? How can we deliver the healthcare remotely to a remote location, right? Aging at home, so to the elderly home, right? So I think in long run, elderly is a problem everywhere. Today, in Hong Kong, 20% of the population already older than 65%. In 15 years later, it will then become 31% people. So 10% more people in terms of population is getting older. And 10% means close to 1 million people, older people in Hong Kong. How do we take care? So if we continue to invest to build new hospital, it doesn't make up the calculation, the equation doesn't make sense.
Don't have the space anyway.
Yeah. So that's why I answer your question. As far as the technology and 5G technology we put in the private hospital like CU, HK, MC, we actually have also the application deployed in the public hospital as well. So basically, public and private hospital is really champion on this 5G and the smart hospital. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, no, this is good to know. And obviously, you mentioned about the telco sectors would see opportunity, and hopefully they do see it and be interested in investing in this space. So perhaps sort of next question I would have is, we talked about the fact that all of these, when you bring it together, you actually need a pretty strong collaboration between the government, public sector, and private sectors. And I know GSMA, thank you for hosting the Mobile 360 Asia-Pac Summit. They're also forming an APAC 5G industry community, basically bringing different stakeholders together to work together. And in your view, right, what would be the key factors or elements that are needed in order to ensure that the different cross-industry are really collaborate effectively and get the result you need? In particular, when we talk about healthcare sector, what are some of the key things that you feel need to be worked on more urgently than the other? David?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys raised the question about the collaboration and kind of a government health service technology partners like HKT. Yeah, we strongly believe in that and see that from other sectors as well. I guess the whole area of ecosystem collaboration and how you can bring together not a small number of digital partners, but possibly hundreds or even thousands over the longer term. So the whole area of ecosystem development from a business perspective, I think, is pretty critical to try and help this scale and become replicatable across different geos. And I think, creating an environment where partners can easily collaborate and while healthcare is very focused on patient outcomes and societal benefits, it's also, I think, quite important to look at the you know, at the business case, in what way this will function from a revenue perspective. You know, I know that's not always a positive thing to say when you're talking about healthcare, but in our experience, I think for any big investments over the longer term, you have to factor it in, and you have to be clear on you know, what areas maybe need to be subsidized for the greater good, and which ones will be able to, you know, generate revenues for the partners involved within the ecosystem. You know, so I think ecosystem development from a business perspective, I think it would be something great to see happening. You know, more obviously the GSMA is very good at this anyway, but bring that on within the healthcare sector, I think would be excellent.
Right. No, I think, yeah, definitely the healthcare, telco sector, and then the technology sector, right? These are very key. And then on top of it, you got the users, the stakeholders. Sam, just coming back to this question about collaboration, I know we're down to the last few minutes, but I want to hear from you in particular about policies. We earlier talked about some of the challenges, mainly maybe the mindset, right, the culture, but also the trust, right, when it comes to data. You look at innovation, you're also looking at sort of overall broader government direction on digital transformation. So are there any areas that you think that are needed when it comes to policy, especially how do you encourage business to make that long-term investment, right?
Yes, I mean, thank you. To cover what the other panelists have spoken about, obviously 5G healthcare would provide or would put up a cost barrier, but it can be seen that cost barrier can be circumvented by strong business models. And also from a regulator's point of view, MCMC, we will also want to see a larger base of early adopters that are able to execute some of these use cases. And this is part of enlarging the pie of economy. Long-term wise, the government is looking into policies such as the 5G first policy that may be able to shape industry adoption of 5G healthcare and other 5G specific use cases where it can be used to in some way break silos and improve the mindset, where if without such a 5G policy, then it's the traditional way and traditional mindset that would be in place. However, if there are strong policies such as the 5G first policy, then it could be able to shape up certain industry levers that wasn't in place before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, if you have that transparency, that the policy will be proactively, right, so facilitating innovation, and hopefully then there's more encouraging for the industry to participate. So perhaps just the last question, one last minute, in terms of asking all of our speakers in terms of your prediction in the coming year on healthcare. You can also have your prediction about COVID, but particularly how much of this smart technology going to take off could really transform healthcare. So we'll be interested to hear everyone's view. Quick comment before we close the panel. So maybe start with Michael.
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I guess the teleconsultation probably is will have a big demand in the coming future, especially after this COVID pandemic. So we are seeing there is some demand growing up, and then but there are a number of issues that will need to be resolved in, for example, from the government's perspective, and also some other workflow issues that we need to deal with those. But that definitely teleconsultation is will be coming.
Right. Thank you, Michael. Dr. Wong, Henry Wong.
Yes, I totally agree what Michael said. Telemedicine is really growing. As what I've just mentioned, the point of care is really personalized because of the uprising of the aging problem. The second is the chronic disease population also growing, and these are the major demand. People may not want to go to the hospital for the follow-up consultation. People have work to do. They would rather like a tele consultation rather than taking all their transportation to hospital, queuing up for 2 hours for a follow-up and just for 10 minutes. So basically, I would say this is the trend, but there is still a challenge, the policy, because whether the policy really support the telemedicine. The technology is there, there's some use case, but whether the policy would be able to support it, that which is also another challenge.
Right. Okay. So Sam, what's your prediction for the coming years?
My prediction would be thanks to COVID, that has actually made a lot more transformation compared to any other CEO, CTO, or CDO. So COVID has allowed everybody, especially the citizens, to be more well versed in healthcare. And in Malaysia, for example, we have the MySejahtera mobile app where everybody uses to check in and check out wherever that they go. So that has basically trumped the digital transformation mindset in most people's minds. And I believe if the momentum continues and looking for a new normal instead of going back to the way things were, then there should be more insightful collaboration and partnership that would want to take advantage of what COVID has given to the community, not just from numbers of patients, but also from a new way of living and new way of working. Obviously, government needs to catch up because the expectation is now higher than ever before of citizens wanting better healthcare from their service providers.
So last but not least, David.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with the comments from the guys on telemedicine, teleconsultation. I think is one very positive outcome of the COVID pandemic. In a lot of countries it was very sluggish to take off, but COVID forced it. And as Sam just said, I think the engaged consumer and the expectations of the consumer have risen, and they've gotten used to the digital channels, which I think now as an industry we need to try and build on and work with government to not go back to the previous mode, but build on it really, and deliver more care at the kind of point of contact that will have the better impact for the cost investment. So that's I think very similar to what the guys are saying. Build on the positive digital transformation traction we've seen to add more and more value to it. And I think the appetite there globally is there from consumers due to COVID.
Great, yeah. If I sort of listening to all of your great insights, my own reflection would be, I do hope people continue to focus on investing in healthcare and the people and the community. But hopefully, I'm hoping that they're investing in an area where it could actually create impact, right? We're not innovating for the sake of having shiny solutions, right? But actually something that could actually change the health outcome. And so with all that, thank you so much, all our speakers, for sharing your experience. It's all very valuable. And I hope the audience enjoyed the discussion. Feel free to continue to engage in the GSMA community for future 5G development. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you today about telco digital transformation and some of the 5G2B service opportunities that are emerging around telco digital transformation. I'm Martin Kriener, And I've been working in the telco industry for well over 30 years. And I've worked in all aspects of it. I've worked in the supplier in Motorola in the past. I've worked in the service provider business in British Telecom. And I spent about a dozen years as the president and CEO of the global standards body, the TM Forum. And as part of that, we set the standards for the management of all aspects of the telco industry. And since over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been advising a lot of companies in the telco industry about digital transformation. I also write books in this area. My most recent book is called Transforming the Telco, which is about the digital transformation challenges that the telco faces. And sitting at the center of this book was a concept of the 10 transformation journeys that the telco needs to progress. So digital transformation is not just about any one small thing that the telco has to do, but it has to transform across a wide range of areas. And I break them up into 10 different journeys. There's 4 journeys that I view as technology-centric, about becoming a cloud-native, virtualized, autonomously managed telco, around the whole area of becoming security-centric and becoming a data-centric organization, and also about opening up the telco's infrastructure and systems to other players so they can participate in ecosystems. There's 2 journeys around digital services. One is about trying to understand what the digital services are that the telco is going to try and participate in, but the other is about how to build the ecosystems that you need to become a part of. I call another 2 journeys the operations journeys, and they're about how, certainly about the culture in the organization and the skills that need to change as part of digital transformation, but also about how the business models need to change and the flexibility in business models that's required for the new digitally transformed telco. And then finally, there's a set of journeys around customer experience, certainly how to become a much more customer-centric organization with 360-degree customer experience management across multiple channels, but also about opening up new channels to market for the more sophisticated services that the telco is going to offer. And the need for digital transformation is really driven by very clear financial drivers. On the right-hand side here, you see a chart from McKinsey that talks about how the return on capital that the telco is investing has fallen drastically over the last number of years. And this is showing the ratio of return on invested capital to the weighted cost of capital. Back in 2010, that ratio was about a 6-to-1 ratio. And by 2019, that's pretty much on par. So for every dollar invested, it used to get $6 back. Now for every dollar invested, it's getting about $1 back. And on the left-hand side, you can see some of the key financial metrics that are changing in the telco industry. The one that always jumps out at me is the dividend yield. Back in, about a decade ago, dividend yield was on average around 3%. And that essentially is how much money investors are taking out of the profits of the telco. By 2017, 2018, that number is averaging out closer to about 7%, which means that the investors are taking a lot of money out of the telco and putting that elsewhere in things that they feel maybe are transforming more rapidly and are going to deliver a better return on investment. And that becomes a real driver for change within the telco. And the digital opportunity, as I mentioned in my book, is really, there's a massive digital transformation opportunity for the telco if a telco can really embrace it. And I split that up between the improvements in efficiency and agility, but also in the opportunities to grow new revenue. And there's about $1.6 trillion opportunity over the coming decade for the telcos that properly transform. And in order to properly transform, they're going to also have to change the structure of where they spend money within the organization. Today, a telco will spend maybe 16% of its revenue on capital, maybe 49 or 50% on operations, another 19 or 20% on sales and customer care, only a thin sliver of about 6% on innovation and non-network service related innovation, and leaving about 9% EBIT. By 2028, at the end of transformation, you need to build a roadmap for what your spending is going to look like. CapEx will still be roughly the same and around a 15% level, but the spend on operations will have to go down significantly with the advent of AI and autonomous management and so on, down to around 40%. Similarly, the amount of money that you spend on sales and customer care is going to have to fall again with investment in AI and autonomous customer management. And that will drop down to around 13%. And that will leave room for a major investment in innovation. I'm going to talk a lot about that in this presentation. But about 17% of revenue should be spent on innovation and new services and so on, leaving a very healthy 14% EBIT. And that sort of picture for the future is what you need to have in mind as you're investing in transformation. And the financial imperatives that I talk about here are also driving 5G. We're all busy investing in 5G. We're either at the early stages of it or we're reasonably advanced. And we did a piece of work a couple of years back with Harvard Business School, looking at a bottom-up build of the revenue in 2025 associated with 5G and the associated costs. And we came to the conclusion that there would be about a $4.7 trillion global revenue generated related to 5G across all these vertical industries. And about $1.6 trillion of that will be related to connectivity, and about another 3.1 trillion will be related to hardware, software, services, and so on. But of this $1.6 trillion, only about 480 billion is associated with new revenue. The rest of it is really just transferred revenue from 2G, 3G, 4G, and so on into 5G. So if you remember that number, $480 billion is going to be related to the new connectivity revenue that's available from 5G. We also did a bottom-up assessment of the costs of rolling out and managing and operating 5G by 2025. And we came to the conclusion that will run to about $640 billion. And that's with all of the efficiency savings. So that leaves a very obvious problem, which is if you just operate 5G in the exact same way as you operated 2G, 3G, and 4G, i.e. just assuming you're going to achieve return on investment from connectivity, our analysis says you won't achieve that return on investment from connectivity. You need to also do something else. Now, you can reduce costs, so you can drive up the value of connectivity, but ultimately you're also going to have to invest in a whole range of what is generally referred to in the industry as beyond connectivity services. And then beyond connectivity, some of those services will be in the B2C world around gaming and home sport and so on. But an awful lot of them will be in the B2B world. And so this phrase of 5G to B has been emerging in the industry as an opportunity for telcos to generate revenue above and beyond traditional connectivity. And a lot of telcos have invested in this area over the last decade with generally relatively poor results. And part of that problem is there isn't enough rigor put into identifying what are the areas that you need to focus on when you're investing in different B2B markets. I suppose one of the ways of looking at this, and there's multiple elements of looking at it. One is look at it from what is the overall size of the market opportunity that you're going after. And in this slide, I talk about a view from China, which is talking about the overall size of vertical digitalization opportunity in different vertical industries. And that's really important to look at. And similarly, you know, every telco needs to look at, well, what services that are going to spend this money within these vertical industries actually need 5G. And so you look at it from one point of view in terms of saying, well, manufacturing really stands out in China as an area that is going to spend a lot of money. It's a very big market and it does need 5G. On the right-hand side, there's other factors to concern as well, you know, that you need to consider, which are things like the sheer volume of the potential use cases that are available, and also the time to adoption, because just because there's going to be a lot of investment in 5G in your market doesn't mean that investment is going to be within the next 5 years. Maybe it will take a decade or more before that comes good. So that is one way to work out in your own mind which vertical industry is going to make sense in your country, and you do the analysis and identify where the opportunity is going to be in a broad sense. And then once you've decided that, say, manufacturing or healthcare or is an area that you want to invest in, you need a repeatable methodology in order to decide which of those use cases and so on you're going to go after. So I've got here a 4-step methodology that really looks at, one is the first thing you have to do is to fully understand the ecosystem. So you need to understand the manufacturing. In this example, it's about manufacturing, but you need to fully understand the manufacturing ecosystem. Who are the key players and what roles do they play within the services that are being delivered? The second thing you need to work out is how much revenue and profit is associated with each element within that industry, and where's the money going to be in the short to medium term in that market. The third key step then is to start building out a library of all of the potential use cases that you might work on within that market. And then finally, you need to apply a methodology. The one we use is a thing called control point analysis, which looks at every one of the use cases and assesses each of the use cases based on a set of key criteria. This is an example of how I've applied that into the healthcare industry. So in the healthcare industry, we've built up a very wide portfolio of use cases that are going to generate money for somebody over the coming decade. And they might be in primary care or in pharmaceutical delivery or in family health or in community care. There's a whole wide range of use cases. And then we built this set of criteria that you can apply to each of those use cases around whether there's a business fit, whether there's a market timing risk, and what the overall size of the opportunity is going to be. And when you map all of that out, you get something like the bubble chart on the right-hand side there, which shows, okay, the ones in the top right-hand side are maybe the use cases that work for me in my market in this particular vertical industry. Same is true in manufacturing. There's a wide range of potentially viable use cases in manufacturing. And it's very important to quantify the market opportunity associated with each one of these key use cases in your particular geography or the multiple geographies that you may work within. And it's not just about manufacturing and healthcare. There's opportunities in drones and automotive, in AR, VR, in smart events, in retail, and so on. So you need to cast your net quite widely and work out what is going to be the most important aspect for you as a company. Another key element you need to work out is all about ecosystems and how are you going to engage with the ecosystems you need to engage with. And in order to do that, we've got a methodology that we've used over the last number of years about trying to understand which key ecosystems you want to try and engage with, either join somebody else's ecosystem or else set up and create your own ecosystem. And once you've identified which ecosystem you want to engage with, you need to identify the partners that you want to work with and the governance models that you're going to put in place in order to work within that ecosystem. Platforms are also going to be hugely important. And as a telco, you're going to build a set of platforms yourself, and those platforms are going to not only have traditional connectivity capabilities, but as you move into 5G, you're going to have things like on-demand service and network as a service and self-service capabilities and so on. So a wide range of capabilities that are going to be important. But one of the interesting things that we have found over the last number of years is that different vertical industry value different 5G capabilities differently. So for example, you probably need the whole range of 5G capabilities to really hit the important use cases in automotive. And something like education, maybe just on demand is probably the most important 5G capability that people will really want to make use of. In industrial or healthcare, again, you can see there's certain of the 5G capabilities that are seen as most important versus ones that are maybe slightly less important. So you need to understand which market you're going after and map your 5G capabilities to the actual needs of your market in your country. And then finally, as you move into building platforms for vertical industries, you will realize that the vertical industries themselves are busy building out their own platforms in manufacturing. Companies like GE and Schneider and so on will all build out their own platforms, and those platforms will want to embrace the telco platforms and the cloud platforms and the other specialist platforms. So what you will end up doing is you need to develop your own telco platforms in such a way as they will fit seamlessly into multiple other industry vertical platforms that will be what the vertical industry themselves use in order to gain value out of ICT. So that was a quick run through that whole area of transformation and new digital services. But in summary, telco transformation is essential. It's progressing well, and there are very strong financial imperatives for actually going through digital transformation. And there are multiple opportunities in 5G 2B digital services, but it's very important to avoid wasting money in this area. You need a repeatable methodology to decide which vertical markets you're going after and which use cases you're going to use and go after within those vertical markets. And then you need to understand how to engage with the ecosystems in those new businesses. And you need to have a clear, well understood platform strategy for how you build your own platforms and how you engage in other people's platforms. I'll draw to a close there, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the last few hour content built by our community members. So I think I'm really excited to recap a little bit about, you see actually our ASEAN government, MNO, enterprise commit to work together to support the industry to making success together. And you already taste some pioneer. They are adopting 5G in manufacturing and healthcare, really creating new value for the business during the COVID-19 and also the ultimately benefit for the society. So again, please register as our community member. Let's shape the region together to bring success. We will running 3 industry interest groups this year: manufacturing, healthcare, and also logistic, port and transportation. We want your participation because we want you bringing innovation with us together. And finally, let me promote our contributor member, AIS. They have a 5G for business now next month. Welcome to join. You will see me again, and also a lot of industry leaders sharing you about further detail about Thailand's success in 5G. Thank you very much. I hope to see you next year or next event, virtually or physically. Please stay safe. If you miss any content, you can still visit our platform to streaming back all the content. Thank you very much. Bye.